Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition Small Business Live Forum. I'm your host, David Dadekian, a small business owner here in Rhode Island. I own Eat Drink Rhode Island, and it's great to be with you again today. A reminder, if you're watching this on Facebook and you'd like to leave any questions for today's guest, please put them there in the comments, and we'll try to get those as we get going in the show. And as always, please check out rismallbusiness.org to sign up for the Small Business Coalition, get the newsletter, and find out all the things that are happening with the Small Business Coalition. Our guest today is Senate President Dominick Ruggerio. It's great to have you with us today, Mr. President.
Thank you for having me here, Dave. I appreciate it very much.
Any opening remarks you'd like to make for us today, sir?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you and your organization, you and Chris and Jennifer, for inviting me here today. Not only that, but also for the work that you've been doing over the past 2 years. I know this has been terrible for small business because of the pandemic and things of that nature. And it's been difficult for people to know how to operate because you don't know what's happening from one day to the next. However, I think that we've been doing very well as far as our economic development in the state. However, we have to do more. Obviously, small business is the backbone of the state of Rhode Island. We employ half of the small business employs more than half of all Rhode Island workers, and the vast majority are businesses with 20 or fewer employees. The Senate remains focused on finding ways to boost our economy and help people get back to work. And that starts with keeping our small businesses open, easing the burden that they face, and empowering them to innovate and adapt. Working with the governor and the House, we recently approved $32 million in small business assistance through the opera down payment. This builds on the federal funding we appropriated in June, as well as the prior funding allocated to small businesses during the pandemic. It includes grants to help businesses build their capacity and make needed investments. Direct financial relief is just part of the solution, but it's an important step. The Senate has championed the child care issue. We can't get people back to work if they can't access affordable child care. We also committed to stabilizing the staffing crisis in child care because of how much it affects Rhode Island workers and businesses. Another top priority in the Senate is our proposal to dramatically accelerate the rollout of our universal pre-K system. Now, pre-K is much more than childcare. It doesn't just give our 3 and 4-year-olds a place to go. It gives them an important head start in their social and educational journey. Beginning education at 3 years old instead of 5 years old is an investment that pays dividends throughout their schooling and throughout their careers. Plus, providing all parents with access to affordable pre-K for their kids will help so many Rhode Islanders get back to work, and that's what we're looking to do, to help businesses bring back the people so they can operate in the manner similar to when they operated prior to the pandemic. At the pace that we're going, and because we have a pilot program, it would take about 30 years for us to do something like that. However, the Senate is looking to accelerate this process and try to accomplish this within a 5-year period. It's bold. However, I think we can do it. I am confident that we can do it. I have a whole bunch of senators that are working on this particular issue. They're really interested in it. And I'm looking to assist them in whatever manner they deem appropriate in order to help them get to the finish line. So as I said before, this is bold. It'll be difficult, but I think it's doable. I appreciate the governor's focus on small business during his State of the State address last week. Among the investments in this budget is the funding for Real Jobs program, and I've been a strong supporter of that particular initiative since Governor Raimondo has introduced it. The program connects workforce development efforts directly with businesses and industries, helping to train workers in today's skills and place them in a position of need. Having a workforce that meets the needs of the 21st century employers is critical to our future growth. The governor's proposal to make to-go alcohol sales permanent seems like a potentially meaningful way to help, and that will be giving serious consideration. Some of the elements of the governor's plan require further study to ensure that they're the best way for Rhode Island to proceed. And we, in conjunction with the House and the leadership, under the leadership of Speaker Joseph Scacchi, I think we'll be able to accomplish that. We need to consider cost, look at what works in other states, and hear directly from the business community about the best investments we can make to have a positive input for them. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to infuse our federal money and to make important transformational investments in Rhode Island's future. This is about the state we leave for our children and grandchildren. We want them to have healthy and vibrant communities, and it's the kind of environment that will allow businesses in our economy to thrive. In the Senate, we once again be focusing on action to address climate change. It is important that Rhode Island leads by example on this very urgent challenge. We also know that climate action creates jobs. We will be submitting a package of legislation this legislative session focused on the creation of these type of jobs. The investments we make will help mitigate the effects of climate change, make our communities more resilient, and prepare Rhode Island for the green energy future. We will be pursuing investments in freshwater infrastructure, from pipe replacement to dam repairs across the state. Excuse me. We also are looking to incorporate energy efficiency into school construction and improvement projects. And we must emphasize building career pathways in the clean energy fields. It makes sense to foster continued growth of this industry, and it can benefit both the state, both economically and environmentally. Another business issue facing us is the legalization of cannabis. The Senate approved legislation last year, and I'm confident that this session legislation will be enacted. How and what form it's going to look like, I don't know at this point in time. It's still being worked on, but I envision that we will pass some kind of legislation regarding this particular issue this year. Obviously, this is going to keep us competitive with our neighbors, and particularly in Massachusetts, and keep vital dollars here in Rhode Island. Well, as everyone knows, this is silly season. It's election year, and as you've seen, there's been a number of moving parts, especially with the announcement of the Congressman Langevin's retirement. It's going to be very spirited. I am proud to be the presiding officer of the Rhode Island Senate, and I embrace that responsibility. But my voice and my vote is just one of 38. What we accomplish, the priorities we focus on, are driven by the concerns and priorities of the Senate as a body, and whether we can reach consensus on key areas. This year's election will have an enormous impact on Rhode Island's future. I want to encourage everyone in the business community to support candidates who understand the needs of small businesses and focus on our economy. We need your support, not just in the general election, but in primaries, which is where we sometimes see individuals who are less open to the concerns of the small business community become victorious. I believe that the interests of business and of workers are not mutually exclusive. Furthermore, only by putting Rhode Island back to work and bringing us fully into the 21st century economy can we realize our full potential. Thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to speak, and I'm willing to entertain any questions that anyone might have at this point in time. Thank you, David.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. That certainly was a lot. You hit upon a lot of issues there, many of which I hope we can go a little more into depth on. A lot of things that our members have asked questions about. But really, yeah, you nailed a lot of things there that are important to small business and will help small business. Let's start with marijuana, because obviously it is a very big issue, and as you mentioned, the Senate moved ahead with it last year. Just and now we're trying to get everyone on board with it. Our members, wanted to ensure, as you move forward, as the House moves forward, as the governor's office moves forward, that there are a few things that we would like to get our thoughts into. Obviously, first and foremost is the hope that we can ensure that there are ways for small private businesses to get an equal chance at licenses. We should keep that in mind. Um, I think, personally, I also think it's important for us not to forget that this is also an agricultural product. I work with a lot of farmers myself in my business, and I think it's a great thing to remember that someone's going to grow this stuff too. And if we can, it almost seems funny to say, but it's big business. If we can have a local product, why not, right? I mean, local food is a big thing. Let's have local cannabis as well. And then the other thing our members talked about, and I want your thoughts on, is regulation of it. Uh, will it fall under DBR? Do you think it'll be a separate body? What are the thoughts there so far? Where are we going?
Well, let me say this, Dave. I was not happy the way the rollout was for the medical marijuana. I think we kind of let the horse out of the barn when we shouldn't have. I think the control commission that both Senator Miller and Senator McCaffrey and the House representatives who worked on this bill is the way to go. I think you need a separate commission for that because, as I said before, I did not think that the Department of Business Regulation did a very good job with medical marijuana. I've always had some concerns about legalizing cannabis, especially in the workplace. A lot of operations, people are using heavy equipment, things of that nature, and I'm concerned about the safety on the job. And I'm certainly concerned if it gets out of hand, things like that. Ultimately, the insurance costs will be going up for businesses, and I don't want to see that happening. So we're taking a very close look at the issue, and let's see how it comes out. And obviously, we have to sit down with the governor's office. He has a different perspective as the control situation. So we're going to have a meeting of the minds and see how we get to where we have to go.
Well, hopefully we can get to a compromise on that, because as I'm sure you realize, and we've all seen those billboards on 95. There's lots of money leaving the state.
95 and 146. Yep.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah, I was going to say. I don't have to tell you. So, all right, let's move on to another topic you brought up, the climate legislation. We're seeing changes that affect small business, mostly in a positive way. I think there's lots of opportunities there, like you mentioned, the green economy for new small businesses to come up. But for legislation purposes, we've seen the ban on the plastic straws. I think it's a little early to say how that's happening so far, but it's been a few weeks of that. What else in the pipeline? I think there are plastic bag bills and things of that nature coming up. What else in the pipeline for climate this year?
I intend to reintroduce the plastic bag bill, which I introduced the past 2 or 3 years. That was an initiative from the previous governor. I kind of picked up the ball and ran with it. I think we can get there this year. I think a lot of the stores and the businesses know it's coming. I want to work with them and make sure it's the best piece of legislation that we can put out here that would be helpful to them. I'm certainly not looking to add more cost to the cost of business, but I think it's something that we have to address at this point in time. Something happened?
Sorry about that. I had a little drop there. I apologize. You were talking about adding more cost.
Yes, I thought I touched something over here, Dave. They tell me not to touch anything.
Oh, maybe it was you. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It happens.
Yes, we certainly don't want to add more costs. We want this transition to be seamless. I notice when I go to the market, a lot of people have been starting to use bags that they can reusable bags. I think that's a good thing. At one time, the markets wouldn't let you do that, but I think with the easing of the virus, I think that's allowable right now. So I'm hoping that we see more of that. But I think that's something that's first and foremost on the Senate's list as far as environmentally this year.
And anything else environmental that you see coming here, or is it too soon to tell you that?
Obviously, I know some people were concerned about the Act on Climate. There were speculation gasoline taxes are going to rise substantially, but we're looking at how we can uh, make that happen without increasing the costs onto the consumer. So that's something that I think we need. I mean, all we have to do is look around and see what's happening, uh, especially now with the ocean state, and we've been hit with something. Fortunately, we have not been hit badly, but some other areas, if you look what's happening in some other parts of the country, uh, we have to do something about the climate because it's coming here fast. So that's something that we're looking to do. And a lot of these climate proposals, they create jobs. So I have about 3 or 4 senators that are working on the green and blue jobs element. Um, and I think they're doing an excellent job. And I think we'll be able to produce some kind of legislation this year.
2 points on that you just mentioned. One, obviously, you're right about the other parts of the country. We've seen terrible disasters, and hopefully, we're not going to experience that here. But can you talk about a little bit about National Grid and regulations and our infrastructure there, and maybe even what the ARPA funds can do to help out that? Because when businesses lose power or lose internet, that's the whole ballgame.
Well, we do have a company that's looking to acquire National Grid. We've had 1 or 2 meetings with this company. My big concern there, if we have a substantial outage in this area, I mean, they come from Pennsylvania, they come from Kentucky. That's where that's where they do their work. What are they going to do in the event of? How are we going to be serviced up here? That's one of my concerns. Another one is the rates. And we've been discussing the rates once they come into the state. What are the rates going to look like? I mean, are you going to come in and you're going to raise rates right away? We don't know. So that's something that we're looking at right now. We're hoping that we can reduce the cost of power in the state. Obviously, I know businesses are always concerned. We have a very high electrical rate in the state, and that's something that we want to reduce. Obviously, we're looking at renewables as a source for that. So I think some of the things that we've done, obviously, we have a wind turbine project that was done off Block Island. We're looking to do more of that. We're looking for these jobs to enhance what we're doing and also reduce the burden on businesses and the electrical rates in the state.
Excellent. Good to hear. So the other point was you brought up the blue economy, and I know the governor spoke about it a bit the other night. There's a lot there. There's a lot of opportunity. I mean, we are the ocean state, right? So, I mean, from my perspective, I see a lot of it in the seafood industry and things of that nature. But what else do you see with blue economy, and where you think that's heading?
We don't know. I'm not working directly on this particular issue. We don't know it at this time. But I think some of the things we're hoping to be some kind of a laydown area for some of these turbine projects that are going to be up and down the East Coast. I think we're well suited for that right now. We've had a leg up on this particular situation because of what we've done on Block Island, and I think the public is noticing that. And I think that's something that is viable and doable in the future. So that's something where you're going to get a lot of jobs out of that. I mean, the other things, obviously, solar. We can get many jobs out of that, and we're just looking at the whole broad spectrum of the environmental policies in the state to see what we can do as far as changing our economy, and many of those jobs are very good paying jobs. So that's something we're looking at this time. Even though we haven't come out with a proposal as of yet, I would assume that we will be doing that in the next month or two.
Great, great. Lots of jobs in those industries, and lots of small businesses are in the startup in the solar area. I know wind turbines tend to be a little larger, but the solar business has a lot of small businesses. So, thank you for pointing that out. So let's look. So we just mentioned the state of the state a couple times. Let's talk about the budget a little bit. There's some very useful things in there for small businesses. What are your thoughts? What are you seeing for this year?
Well, obviously, there's some industries that have been really hurt, some businesses that have been really hurt. The hospitality industry has been really taken it on the chin, and I have to commend the people in the manufacturing businesses in the state. For the most part, they kept up and running during the pandemic, and I appreciate that. Obviously, that helps us with our revenues coming in. We're going to be getting a lot of money from the federal government, and we're going to have to spend it not on a timely basis. But I'm concerned about after what happens when that money is gone. I want to make sure that we build our economy, and it might not be the same economy that existed before the pandemic. I want to make sure that we can build our economy to make sure that we get back to where we were before. I mean, we had 3% unemployment. A lot of people were working in the state. Businesses were doing very well, and then the pandemic struck. And we want to get back to where we were. And both the speaker and I can speak for him on this. We're going to make a conscious effort to do that and get back to where we were before.
Yeah, we had a great conversation with the speaker back in the fall. So he also echoes that the working relationship is going very well. So that's nice to see. I think
it's doing great.
Compromises. We see what's going on in other parts of the government, in Washington, and it's nice to see some compromise and conversation. So you mentioned the ARPA funds. I mean, that's the big thing. Obviously, you've already approved the down payment package, as we called it, the 10%,
Yep.
which a chunk of it is going to small business, and the Small Business Coalition has been working on that grant program with the Commerce Department. Any other thoughts? I know it's very broad. It's over $900 million. What are you seeing? What's popping out for you for the ARPA funds?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I'm hoping they do something on the BBB down in Washington. I know it's hung up right now because they have a provision in there that addresses early pre-K. And that will be very helpful. We won't have to expend whatever money we have to do that because there'll be something in that, in that budget that will address that. I think that is something that will remain in that proposal down in Washington. I know they're dealing with other issues down there, but I think that's something that everyone can support. And obviously, childcare, it gets the parents back to work. But as I said before, it's certainly something that we have to look at because even before the pandemic, Dave, I think we should have looked at that because we're in a global economy. And I know a lot of other countries are doing this. And I think it's something that we should have been doing for a number of years, but it just hasn't really happened. So that's something I think that's extremely important. I mean, there's a number of other issues affecting the economy that I'm concerned about. But I think that if we all get together and we work collaboratively, I think we can develop something that Rhode Island hasn't seen in ever. So we have a transformational opportunity to change what goes on in this state, and I think we have to use that money wisely. We have to be prudent as to how we spend it, and we'll see what happens going forward.
And it's a good point about pre-K. I think sometimes people don't think about it, but an educated workforce is what all small businesses want. I mean, we want smart, good employees. So I think adding to that, to pre-K all the way through, obviously, for education is very important and helpful to small businesses. Let me look at a few more items here we have with some of our members have given information. So the corporate minimum tax, for example, that is going to be lowered in the most recent budget. Some of our members are concerned, though, that it's not that it's not enough, but that when businesses are facing a loss, wouldn't it be possibly or prudent to create some type of tiered system for the corporate minimum tax? Larger businesses that aren't facing a loss may be able to cover a higher tax and cover those that did get a loss. I don't know if things like that are possible, but our members wanted to bring that up and get that out to our General Assembly. Um,
Well, obviously, we are going to go through the process. That's part of the budget. Both the Senate and the House, both their finance committees will be looking at the governor's budget. And if there's some adjustments to make, we certainly will entertain that. So we're not saying it's off the table. We're saying that we're willing to hear from all the stakeholders and all the interested parties. Look, if you got a better mousetrap, let us know.
That's the key. I think it's important for our members to realize that this is how the process works. The governor's office proposes the budget. It goes through the General Assembly. It comes out at the end of the session to be signed. But there's a lot, as you said. If someone's got a better idea, they should reach out to their senator or their representative and talk to them.
And let me just add this. Obviously, we cut taxes this year. We still cut we still have the car tax phase out. So that's important. I think that gives some relief to a lot of the people who are struggling right now with the pandemic and because they're out of work. So that's something that we did. And without you asking, I have no intention to raise taxes this year. I'm not a tax raiser. I'm the type that let's find the revenue to address the situation. I don't like raising taxes, and I know there's some proposals to raise taxes on people who earn over a certain amount of income, but we have a lot of money that we can utilize. Someday should we take a look at the tax code in the state of Rhode Island? Yeah, but not today.
I think it's a good point. These are situations unique in the world forever. Right now, and yeah, perhaps it's a time to just push that down the road for a little bit. On the other hand, there are some issues also that we're grateful to see are in already getting into the session this year. It's on the House side, but I assume it's going to get to the Senate side soon. There's a happy hour bill up in front of the House Corporations Committee today, so I'm assuming that's going to get to the Senate soon. So I think our members want you to know that that's something that's important to them when it does come to you. Our members also wanted to talk about the ventilation systems, and if there's some way to codify that into law to prevent in the future other types of pandemics. Instead of just obviously we understand the other preventive measures that have been used over the last 2 years, but a lot of places have put in new ventilation systems. I'm sure they've started to do some of that work at the State House as well. What do you think about regulations like that? Things that sort of future looking, but are important to the small business community.
Well, first of all, I know how important ventilation is because I'm at the State House right now, and the ventilation here is very poor. This has been a sick building since I walked in here 45 years ago, and I had tried to encourage the governor while we were out during this past session, once the session ended, to do something about the ventilation system here. I know he intends to, but it's just, as we know, government does not move quickly. But there are going to be grants available. And I think that a lot of the businesses can use that to upgrade their ventilation systems for the safety of their employees. So, I mean, they could use it for that money. And I know a lot of businesses were kind of left at the starting gate when the first grants were introduced. So we want to keep an eye on how these grants are going to be disseminated. We want to make sure that one particular business is not going to get, a large portion of the grant money and everyone gets shut out. So, that's something we're going to be looking at. But the ventilation system everywhere is very important. And I can think of the Gary complex where ventilation is absolutely horrible. And these are just state buildings. So I'm sure there's some buildings out there that businesses operate out of that really need some upgrades in their ventilation system.
Excellent point. Thank you. A couple other items. One is you mentioned the to-go drinks that have been very helpful to our members in the food and beverage sector. We'd also love to see if possible when that's put into hopefully permanent effect in the future, that delivery be added. A lot of our members think delivery is a very safe option. A sealed package being delivered is safer than someone driving off with their own drink. So we're hoping that can come into effect when the bill is discussed in this session. Keep that in mind.
All right.
And then the other thing, A lot of our members talked about how great it is for the open meetings to be virtual. Uh, we're hoping that maybe that can be made permanent as well, and the ability to call in. While, as someone who has called in many times over the last 2 years to testify and had to listen to a lot of people calling in, I realize it's not always the most convenient and easiest system. It is, I think, an advantage to democracy. So I hope that we can see those things made permanent as well. What any thoughts there, or we just want to wait and see? And
I don't know if that would be permanent after the state of emergency is lifted. I mean, we'd have to see. Many of my colleagues would like to have people come into this building and testify in person. It helps the chairs. We've had some legislation that has been discussed where we've been getting calls from people from California, from other areas of the country, and that kind of frustrates our chairs because normally that does not happen. So we're going to take a look at that situation. Right now, we think that's the safest way to operate, and we're going to look at it on a month-to-month basis for the most part. So, I'm always concerned about the safety and the health of my colleagues in the Senate, and I think that's something that is going to help them now. So we'll see what happens.
That's a good point. I appreciate that answer. I think it's good to point out when there are flaws sometimes to something that we think would really help. So it's good to find that balance and that compromise. Thank you for that. Ben, do we have any questions for the president on Facebook?
We have one question from Hugo.
All right, great. Hugo here has a question about ventilation. Well, we discussed a little bit about this. Let's see what else he has there. Do you think we should be paying attention to indoor air quality to help maintain a safe work and consumer environment? I think, you touched upon that. We discussed that as well. I think Hugo's very passionate about ventilation. He has a new business in Warwick that I know he's built a very extensive ventilation system into. So it's great that we're able to have that discussion. I appreciate it. Anything else, Ben? Was that all the questions on Facebook?
That is the only question on Facebook.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I really appreciate your time today. This was a great conversation. I think we covered a lot of issues.
It was, Dave, and you know what? I probably haven't touched upon a whole bunch of things that are going to be happening. We're in the preliminary stages of the legislative session. People are formulating their legislation right now. I don't know what else is going to come down the pike. So obviously, I would like your organization to be vigilant, to keep us informed as to how you feel about certain pieces of legislation. Don't be shy, and we've usually been very receptive to the business community, and we want to continue to do that. So I want to thank you very much for having me today, and please feel free to contact us whenever you have a concern or whenever you have some suggestions.
Great. Thank you again. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Senate President Dominick Ruggerio. It was great to have him on the program today. Coming up, our guests in the next few weeks are going to be Representative Greg Amore, Representative Barbara Ann Fenton-Fung, Representative Scott Slater, James Mutchler from SCORE RI, Doris de los Santos from the Center of Women in Enterprise, Tomas Avila from the Rhode Island Office of Diversity, Equity, and Opportunity, and then back to our elected officials with Representative Blake Filippi and Senator Jessica De La Cruz. And then, if you're other representatives or elected officials in other areas or people in the small business community that can help our small businesses, please let us know. We'd love to have you on the program to discuss these small business issues. As always, small businesses out there, check out rismallbusiness.org. Sign up there to be part of our organization, to get the newsletter, to see what's coming up with the portal. We've got a lot of things happening this year with small business. And as the Senate President pointed out, it's also an election year. So there's a lot happening everywhere. But make sure you communicate with your representatives and senators. And let's just keep trying to build a better small business community here in Rhode Island. Thanks again for watching. Take care.